Well, it's gonna have to be a quick one because I left late from my house to get to work. I usually give myself about 10 minutes from um, my car to my office on the six stoop, I guess you'd call it. I go ascend six flights of stairs. Do you fly on your flights or do you walk on your flights upstairs? English is so complicated. I mean, we get to use it and we learn the ins and outs of it, but still, once in a while, there's some certain convoluted statements and whatnot that'll throw you for a loop. So I'm not sure what I want to say. I mean, I'm going to run out of things to say if I just stick to a single genre. Um, but let me get this out. I'm beginning to believe that life is just about suffering. And I'm not exclusive to that. I think I'm no expert, but peripherally, I think the Buddha was teaching that life is about suffering. But I'm pretty sure there's something to it because I don't know. I was just driving, I drive about an hour. I was thinking, at the end of the Bible, it says people will seek death and they won't get it. Like they're praying to die and they don't get it. They're being kept alive. Because they're meant to suffer. I mean, in the beginning of the Bible, Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve are kicked out. They're gonna have to suffer the rest of their existence by the sweat of their brow and whatnot. And then what the childbirth thing for Eve, you're gonna suffer. Yeah, I think there's a lot of hints that you're supposed to suffer. Have you noticed how many Christians kill other Christians? Not just person on person, but nation on nation. It's like suffering is an inbuilt thing. In fact, could you have Christianity without suffering? I mean, think of the crucifixion. That was a big suffer uh, event, ceremony. So I do think this a little bit here. We may actually be here for suffering purposes. And, there's this, by the way, I am a registered pastor with a church here in Washington State. So I haven't really put that out yet on my channel, but I might have to go into some of that because we're trying to look for some answers here. But this whole prosperity doctrine, where if you just wish upon a star and think and grow rich and just pray hard enough and strong enough, long enough, and wow, it'll all be given to you. I think it's the opposite. I think you're supposed to pray to suffer. I think we're here to suffer. That's the purpose. I mean, why have all this? Why have things that don't make sense? Why have broken systems? It's to make you suffer. And as I become more fixated on what qualifies as suffering and what doesn't, to actually have bona fide suffering, you cannot realize that you're suffering at that moment, as in you're detached from the suffering. You have to experience the suffering. You have to forget that you can't be conscious of the suffering to experience the suffering. It actually has to be a form of torment. Now, if you're able to, like from a disembodied aspect, look at yourself and say, oh, this is just suffering, then it loses its potency. You have to actually suffer without remembering that it's temporary, without remembering that it's going to end, without remembering that there's a threshold to it. So I think there's to it. So in that form, you're not able to provide self-suffering It has to be unwilling, unexpected, unwanted, unwelcome suffering to qualify as suffering. So you can't just go cut your toe off and say, oh, see, I don't think that's suffering. It has to be a form which you do not initiate consciously. I'm pretty sure there may be more to it. So the more random the better, the more undeserved the better, the more unanticipated, the more unfair, all the better. There seems to be a market for it. There seems to be an absolute demand of all varieties, all flavors, all forms of suffering. That's my alarm. Give myself 10 minutes to get those flights of stairs. But I want to finish this video a little bit more. In fact, I'll just let it go. I mean, we're not really suffering, are we? Because we're cognizant of the fact. So, I think once you make that illusion or disillusion or theory that you're just here to suffer, you're like, that's why it doesn't make sense. That's why I'm constantly in pain. That's why I'm running out of time. That's why I don't have any sleep. That's why things don't make sense with the government or the world. People are starving to death. Other people are dying of too much calorie intake. It's all suffering. I think that's why we're here. We're here to suffer, and it's like some kind of metaphysical currency. We're the cows, and the suffering is our milk and meat. Okay, well, I gotta go do some more of that suffering, so enjoy. And check back with me again. I'll put another video up.